Hello, good evening, welcome to tdcat.com. Today I'm looking at Red Giant Magic Bullet Film, and I'm going to do that in Davinci Resolve. So I've got some clips here that I shot the other weekend, and I'm just going to bring all these in to my media pool. These are shot on the Panasonic DVX200, and they're recorded on the on an Atomos recorder. So they're all log clips, and we're going to use film. We're going to basically use Davinci Resolve and film to grade those, because I was playing around and I posted a couple of frame captures onto Instagram, and I don't know, they look quite nice. So I thought I'd just go through the steps that I took to create them, and just show you kind of around Red Giant Magic Bullet Film. And if you're interested in it, I think it's $199. It's quite expensive, actually. To be honest, Red Giant products they are pretty good. The only thing I would say is they are really quite slow in Davinci. So I'm just going to bring in a couple of clips here. Let's look for that one that I was using the other day on my tutorial as well, which is the one with the shot of the gin bottles. Just because, well, why not? All right, so I'll just bring in these two clips. So we've got this one of the guy doing his welding the other day, so you can see there that that's just a very typical log clip. And we've also got this one here, which is a pretty static clip of someone just waiting to pay for a drink of gin at about 11 in the morning. I mean, these are gin bottles. I assume that's what they were selling. I don't know. Anyway, right, here we are in the color grading section of Resolve. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a basic sort of partial transformation from the log to kind of Rec 709 type look. We've got our log clip here, and it's not, they weren't wonderfully exposed. I didn't do a particularly good job that weekend of exposing my clips. We do have some areas here that are blown out. We probably could have made better use of this area here and retained some of the highlights. But, you know, I'm not too worried about that for the time being. So I'm going to drop this down, start to drop my blacks down a little bit. But I'm not going to go, see, normally I would probably drop it to about there, but I'm not going to do that in this case. And the reason is I'm going to give myself more control within Red Giant Magic Bullet Film. I want to do more of the sort of grading in there. So I'm just going to do a sort of very gentle grade in Davinci through the Davinci controls. So you can see here that is this here is obviously a point that's clipped white. So we could say, well, that's clearly needs to go to there then, because that is our white point. But I'm not going to put it right up there. I'm going to put it to about here, and then just a little drop in the gamma. So we just got what goes from a very sort of flat looking clip to something that's still pretty washed out and a bit sort of, it hasn't got much sort of character to it, has it? And now we're going to drop our film effect in here. So we've got our different sort of magic bullet stuff in Davinci here. And we're going to drop that on. In fact, I'm going to add a couple of nodes here. So I'm going to add a few serial nodes after. So I'm just going to press Alt-S to do that. And the reason I'm leaving one in between is I like to have my nodes sort of separated out as much as I can. In fact, I'm just going to turn that off so I can make this actual image as big as it can be. I like to have my stuff separated out. So I like to have one thing doing one. So I've got my main sort of primary grade here in Davinci, and then I'm going to maybe apply some sharpening there if I need to. It's a pretty sharp clip anyway. And then I'm going to put my film stuff into here. I would usually then have another one for maybe a vignette or something, but fortunately film can do that for me. So let's drop film on, and the immediate look we get, well, it's all right, isn't it? It's not too bad. The only thing I'm going to make a change to initially, we've got all our standard film controls down here, and it's fairly simple stuff. That's what I love about it, is there's nothing too complicated here. You've just got your, just got to tell what type of footage you're working with, and to be honest, you can select whichever one of those fits your need best, really. I mean, we're working with log here, so what that does immediately is it just brings up the saturation a bit on the image, and it adds a bit of contrast, but not a massive amount. But it does look at sort of richer colors now. And then we've got our negative stock, we've got our print stock, and then just standard stuff, temperature, tint, exposure, contrast, saturation, skin tone, and then the slider that goes between a vintage look and a modern look. So modern look being kind of a more orangey skin tones and a bluer type background, and vintage is more sort of just generally a warmer, sort of softer feel to it. So it doesn't soften your image, but you know what I mean. I'll show you that in a second. And then you can apply grain through here as well, which is great because to apply grain in Davinci, you need the full studio version, which retails at something like £800, which is a lot of money. This is an amazing piece of software for a free piece of software, but 800 quid? Not sure about that. It's a bit too much. And then you can apply a vignette and then the strength of the overall effect that you've done so far. So what I want to do here is just initially just have a look at a couple of these negative stocks. So that's the default one. And then there's the 5201. Now, I don't know anything about film. I'm not from a film background at all. So I don't know how these are supposed to look different, or, what differences there would be between them. But, all you can do is just flick through like you would with anything and just have a look and say which one, you like the best, really. In fact, I think I'm going to go with the default, which was that one. And the first thing I'm going to do is just push up the color temperature a bit. So in these situations, what I like to do is shove it up to the top and say, oh, well, yeah, that's too much. And then just kind of look at it for a couple of seconds and let your eyes adjust to it, and then push it back and just keep going until you think, yeah, that's about right. And I never look at the slider when I'm doing that. So I'm just kind of sliding it back with my mouse, but I'm not actually looking what position it's in, because I don't want to be drawn to the fact that I've got to get it close to 100, or I don't want to adjust it too much. I just want to do it based on what I think is about right. So I'm going to go with something like that. And then I look back and I say, right, okay, that's quite an increase in the warmth, so that's fine. Let's just leave it like that. So we could say, well, maybe we could roll off. We could drop our whites a little bit in our original. So if we go back to our original here by double clicking on our first node, and we can just drop this down a bit. Let's see what effect that has. See if we can get some of that water back a little bit. Not really. We'll sort that out in a second. But look, just watch the waveform as I increase this. And you can see that because it's running through film, there appears to be an automatic kind of like a shoulder or a knee effect applied with a gentle kind of curve. And the way you can tell that is by looking, if you see these kind of mid section compared to this the whites, as the whites hit their kind of maximum master point, if you like, on where the knee is supposed to act, there's a kind of roll off then. So these are starting to get compressed almost, whereas the mids can keep on going at their normal rate. So if you just watch as this pushes up, see the top isn't moving quite as quick as the bottom. If I turn off this effect, what you'll see is as I move one, it all moves pretty much in line with itself. And that's a nice effect. It's nice to have that kind of knee effect built in to the plugin. Right, what next? Let's go back to the film node and just have a look at our contrast, right? How much contrast does this clip need to have? Well, that's way too much, isn't it? It's not too bad, actually, this one. I think what I might like to do is maybe give myself a little bit more in the plugin. So I'm going to go back to my original node and I'm going to bring my blacks up and I'm going to bring my gamma up one. So I end up with a slightly flatter looking clip going into Red Giant film. So I can use the contrast now a little bit more in the plugin to create a nice look. Okay, I'm going to actually cool that down a bit actually, because I'm not happy with it quite so warm. So I've changed my mind after looking at it for a bit. Okay, that's good. So let's just have a quick scrub through this clip and see what else is in it. So it's yeah, it's pretty nice. So the guy's doing his welding on his boat. Which, I love all this sort of stuff. It's great. He was just there on his own. You know, it's quite a large boat, and he's just there, like, handling this huge, what looks like a kind of metal A-frame or something. I don't know what you call it. But this thing was really heavy. He was using a crane to move this around. So if he just wanted to make a gentle movement from one place to another, he had to use this crane, hook it all up. And it's, I don't know, it's such patience when people do this type of thing. So yeah, it fascinates me. Anyway, moving on. I never said this would be a quick tutorial, by the way. It's more of just a kind of walk through what I've done here. So yeah, I'm going back to the plugin now. I'm just going to have a quick look between the vintage and the modern. So there is the vintage look, and there is your kind of orangey skin, blue, a bit more contrast there. To be honest, I'm quite happy with it exactly where it was. I'm quite happy with it in the middle, so you can just click reset there and get it back to where it was. I'm just going to check my saturation and see how, yeah, see, we've got fairly bold colours in his jumpsuit anyway, in his overalls. Let's go to our vector scope and you'll see the increased effect of that saturation. I don't think it needs to be any more really than about that. We don't want to overdo it. Go back to my waveform, and we seem to be losing sort of quite a lot of information at the top here. I'm not sure if that's because, did I adjust the exposure? No, I don't think so. It probably just got a little bit brighter or something. So we seem to be losing a bit. So I'm just going to go back to my clip again and just check. So I'm going to drop my gain. Oh no, we're not. We're not really, are we? What I am going to do, however, I'm going to drop it down slightly, and I'm going to push up the shadows in the initial primary grade. So I'm going to bring up the shadows because I want a bit of detail in him, like what he's doing. And then I'm going to put a gradient moving down to just try and get a bit more detail out of this water, just sort of make it a bit more gentle because it's quite bright as it is. In fact, let's go back to the film and just put a vignette on it to start with, see whether that can help us at all. You can see the vignette take effect in the waveform there. It drops the edges. And you see, that's more the sort of look I want in the water. You can see it brings a lot of the detail back into the water. It just looks a lot more like water rather than just this white kind of background. You know, it looks a lot nicer like that, but I don't necessarily want the... Yeah, that'd probably be all right, actually. In fact, in this case, I think I probably will, on this clip, go for a full, really, really quite aggressive vignette, whatever. But now I think we need a bit more gain. Right. So let's just go back to our original, and we can do that nice and simply in Davinci by doing Alt-D. Right, so there's our original. And there's our grade. And let's just have a quick look at what's going into Red Giant Film. So that's what we've got going into Red Giant Film. That's quite a... Yeah, it's actually just a brighter version of the log footage, isn't it, really? But that's fine. And that's what we've got coming out of the other side. I think that looks really quite nice. That's sort of pretty much what I was going for. Yeah, the vignette's doing a great job there, actually. Really bringing... If I just sort of drop that back again, look at the difference there it makes. How much nicer that water looks with the vignette applied. And yeah, the strength slider, yeah, just says how much is this effect taking effect. How much is it working? It's pretty obvious. I'm not going to adjust skin tone because the skin tones are fine. And it's just really, really great because simple controls, works well. The only thing is, in Davinci, it's really slow. So if I play this back now, I'm getting 13 frames a second. This is on not a bad system. It's not a bad system. It's a GeForce GTX 980 Ti, and it's probably about a 4.2 gigahertz processor, 32 gig of RAM. It's not it's not a video production system, but it isn't a bad system. So it really is slow with this on. But you just let it render, give it time to render, and it will come out beautiful. So let's take a look at the second clip now and just do something fairly quickly, because I realized that first one took quite a long time. So here's our second clip of our gin. We're going to do a similar thing again. So do our standard kind of log grade, drop our blacks a little bit, not right down, just to about the 128 mark, and increase the gain. This is just the way I do it, by the way. I'm not saying this is necessarily the right way to do it. And do we have any white points on here? Well, probably some of these highlights here, some of these bits around the bottle, they're probably white, but we can't be sure. So I'm just going to bring it up to about there. So just the change between that and that, just to add a bit of something to it. Maybe just drop the gamma slightly. And then let's add our, oh, we didn't add our sharpening on our other clip, did we? I'll do that in a second. And then just bring our, add our extra nodes on. So 2 serial nodes. And drop film onto the last one. And I'm going to add the sharpening now because I want to sharpen this clip. Go to sharpen here, and there's really not that much sort of precision in this at all. 4/7 is when you drop it one mouse wheel move, it goes drop straight to 4/7, but that's too much. It's always too much. So I always drop it, take it one up to 4/8. And yeah, that's fine. Quite subtle. But that's what you want with sharpening. Always what you want with sharpening. And change this to log. And we get immediately a really nice look. Straight off the bat, just applying that film look gives us something really, really nice. Skin tones are great. All this looks really, really beautiful. It makes me want to have a drink of gin. But let's warm it up again, because that's what we did with our previous clip. So we're just going to warm it up, put it right to the top, and then back it off and sort of get a feel of where we want it to be. I think I probably want it to be about there, which is where we were last time with the last clip actually. And we've got nice use of right down with the blacks right up to the top here. And saturation wise, can we get this looking a bit, can we do a bit more? Yeah, we can push the saturation up a little bit. Contrast, I'm not sure it really needs any contrast. In fact, I'm going to go back to my original and bring this up a bit to get some of the mids a little bit clearer. And again, do the thing where we can then use the contrast on the effect if we want. So we keep our blacks quite visible. You know, haven't got anything that's really black, because I don't know. I just think it always looks a bit sterile when you have something that's completely white and completely black in a kind of something that's supposed to look filmic or whatever. I think this kind of stop here where you've got your knee point sort of somewhere around here and it starts rolling off, and equally nothing that's absolutely dead black, just looks more natural. Again, vignette, we don't need anything like we had on the last one, nothing as aggressive as that, but just a nice gentle vignette around the edge is good. Grain wise, I don't think it needs to be, it has a default at 50 and that's fine. I don't think it needs to be any more than that. If we zoom to 100% on this clip, we'll probably be able to see the grain or the effect of the grain a bit better. If I just whack this up, you can start to see the lines. Let me just zoom in a bit more. Start to see the effect of it a bit more there. But it's all quite subtle. So you've got really nice ranges of control here. And in fact, if I put it on the default, yeah, default is 50. And it just adds enough grain it's really clean footage anyway. Just adds enough grain to kind of give it a really nice sort of natural look. And I think that's probably okay. Let's see if we can make it any brighter. I think that's all right, isn't it? So if we bring our clips back and just try and compare them and see if there's any... Yeah, if anything, I'd say that one is cooler, isn't it? So let's just cool this one down a bit. I mean, they're completely unrelated clips, aren't they? It's not like something that would need to work together, but still we're creating a very similar look between these two clips, and I think they look good. I'm just really happy with how well this works with the log footage from the camera, and how easy it is to just mess about with these very basic, simple controls and create a look that you like. I quickly go back to this clip and apply the sharpening on here too. And there you go. You got this guy. See, it's great. Really, let me just do this to 100%. You can see the kind of, the good detail we've got here. Yeah. These effects here, this is because I messed up the footage and shot it and had it set to come out of the camera interlaced. I talked about that in another tutorial about deinterlacing, and I basically messed up the entire, basically 70% of the day's footage was messed up. Never mind. I will learn from that. So there you go. That is Red Giant Magic Bullet film being used on Davinci Resolve with a bit of grading done in Davinci, and then the main control being done with Red Giant film. So you can find that on their website, download it, get a free trial of it. I'm not sponsored or asked to do this by Red Giant. I just think that this is a good product, and I've enjoyed using it over the last couple of days. So I thought I'd do a quick tutorial on it. So if you've got any questions or comments, let me know, and I will catch you soon. Thanks for watching.